Today we dive into 3 gut-wrenching betrayals: a wife convinced she's pregnant despite every test saying otherwise, a girlfriend slamming her boyfriend as a pedophile over a grooming preference, and a wife who refuses to acknowledge the very marriage they built together. The night the doctor's office door swung shut, my wife clutched my arm, eyes wide with terror. She whispered that the nurses had called us parents of twins, yet the ultrasound machine showed nothing. The room felt like a pressure cooker. I could hear my own heartbeat over the frantic beeping. She screamed, demanding I prove I wasn't going to abandon her and the babies. In that instant, every promise I ever made felt like a lie, and the love we'd built seemed to dissolve under a storm of panic. We had been married 9 years, building a life that looked ordinary on the surface: shared playlists, Sunday brunches, and a mortgage we paid together. Both of us had struggled with infertility, so the hope of twins felt like a miracle we'd prayed for. He was a steady presence, always supportive, and she had become my confidant during the darkest fertility clinics. We celebrated each tiny victory, and the idea of a family felt finally within reach, making the sudden collapse of that dream feel even more shattering. A few weeks before the doctor's visit, she started posting vague baby bump photos on a parenting forum, captioned with poetic gratitude. Her phone buzzed with messages from a secret Facebook group that fed her delusion, each post insisting that a mother knows when she's pregnant. She avoided any blood work, claiming doctors dismissed her instincts. When I suggested a second opinion, she shut down, calling me unsupportive. Those tiny red flags, her secrecy, the online echo chamber, and the refusal to face medical facts, were the first cracks in our shared reality. The tipping point came when I, sleepless and desperate, searched her laptop for clues. Hidden in her browser history were 2 groups: a standard mommy community and a fringe forum where women swore they were phantom pregnant. She had been feeding herself stories of women who gave birth after years of false belief. Reading those posts felt like stepping into a nightmare. The woman I loved was living in a constructed world, and I realized I was powerless to pull her back without professional intervention. We finally forced an involuntary psychiatric evaluation, hoping to protect her from herself. After a 72-hour hold, she emerged on medication, still convinced but calmer. I stayed by her side, attending therapy sessions and learning how to support someone whose mind refused reality. Today, 3 years later, she's on a stable treatment plan, and we've shifted focus from imagined twins to rebuilding trust. The road is still rough, but we've learned that love sometimes means fighting alongside a partner's mental battles. From phantom pregnancies to a shocking accusation that will leave you questioning how a simple conversation turned toxic. He sat on the couch, phone still buzzing, as she stormed out, shouting, "You're revolting." The words hung in the air, echoing his own disbelief. He had just answered a harmless question about grooming preferences, and she'd taken it as proof of a perverse attraction. The silence that followed felt like a courtroom verdict, and the love that had felt steady for 18 months crumbled under a single, unfounded label. In that moment, the future they'd planned together vanished like smoke. They met in sophomore year, bonding over late-night study sessions and shared playlists. After a year, they moved in together, their apartment filled with quirky decor and laughter. He admired her ambition in psychology, while she loved his easygoing humor. Their plans included a proposal within the next year, a joint trip to the coast, and building a life that felt mutually supportive. The relationship felt balanced, with both partners respecting each other's boundaries and quirks, until a classroom lecture sparked a bizarre confrontation. She'd often bring up topics from class, sometimes turning casual conversations into heated debates. One evening, after a particularly intense lecture about grooming and attraction, she asked, "Do you prefer shaved or natural?" He answered truthfully, noting he liked shaved but didn't mind either way. She laughed, but later that night, she mentioned the lecture's claim that pedophiles prefer hairless bodies. He dismissed it as academic, yet she began noting his answer in her journal, linking it to the lecture's disturbing claims. The accusation erupted the next day when she confronted him in the kitchen, eyes flashing. She claimed his preference proved a pedophilic mindset, echoing the professor's controversial point. He tried to explain that personal attraction does not equate to criminal intent, but she refused to hear him, labeling him a revolting pedophile. The argument escalated, and she slammed the door, leaving his voice echoing in an empty hallway. The realization that a single academic concept could shatter their trust hit him like a freight train. He reached out to a mediator, hoping to clarify the misunderstanding, but she blocked all communication. After weeks of silence, he decided to end the relationship, recognizing that love cannot thrive under baseless accusations. He sought counseling to process the trauma of being labeled a predator. Today, he volunteers at a support group for victims of false allegations, turning his pain into purpose. Though the breakup was painful, he now walks forward with renewed confidence that honesty and self-respect outweigh any misguided judgment. From accusations to denial, the next betrayal explores a wife who refuses to acknowledge the marriage she once celebrated. At a friend's wedding, she stared at the floral arrangements, then whispered, "What wedding?" The question cut through the chatter like a knife. He felt his stomach drop as she excused herself, tears spilling silently. All night, guests exchanged confused glances while he tried to keep the conversation light. The woman he'd married for 5 years was publicly erasing the very ceremony that bound them, leaving him clutching memories that now seemed like strangers' stories. They met in college, bonding over late-night pizza runs and shared love for indie films. After 2 years of dating, they planned a lavish wedding, pouring savings into a venue, dresses, and a honeymoon. The ceremony was a joyful blur of friends, vows, and a ring exchange that felt like destiny. For 5 years, they built a home, talked about kids, and even discussed matching tattoos. Their love seemed solid, with laughter echoing through every hallway, until subtle shifts began to surface. She started avoiding her wedding ring, claiming the metal irritated her skin, a sudden change for someone who never liked jewelry. When he suggested a wife card for Valentine's Day, she asked for a girlfriend card instead, laughing it off. Friends noticed her dismissing mentions of marriage in conversations, and she began correcting him mid-sentence, insisting on partner. These micro-behaviors grew, creating a growing gap between their public identity and private reality. During a casual dinner with mutual friends, the topic of upcoming weddings came up. He asked for her advice, and she froze, eyes darting to the exit. When he gently probed, she burst into tears, insisting she didn't remember planning their own wedding. The room fell silent as he realized she was actively rewriting their shared history. He felt like a character in a story whose author had erased his role, leaving him questioning every memory they'd built together. He consulted a couples therapist, hoping to uncover the root of her denial. She revealed deep-seated fear of commitment resurfacing after a traumatic family divorce, causing her to disassociate from the marital label. With professional help, she began to confront those fears, and they agreed to a trial separation to gain perspective. Today, they share co-parenting duties for their 2 children, focusing on mutual respect. Though the marriage may never be the same, they've found a new, healthier way to care for each other. Betrayal can shatter the strongest bonds, but each story shows that resilience, honesty, and self-respect can rebuild what's broken. Remember, you deserve truth and love. What would you have done in their shoes? Drop your thoughts below.